What's up, everybody? With the NFL draft just right around the corner, we're going to get down to some wide receiver profiles here. It's coming up. It's coming up quick. So once again, joining me, I got Riley and Garrett with me.
What's
Guys, what's up?
up?
How's it going?
Good. Just getting excited about this draft and everything like that. But want to talk about one quick thing here. Garrett, you're a big Ravens fan. What did you take? What's your take on the OBJ signing?
I love it. I love the excitement Lamar has too. So hoping that fingers crossed he stays. But OBJ has been my favorite receiver since he came in the league. So just from that standpoint, it's kind of just exciting to finally have a big name receiver to cheer for. Not these old guys.
Yeah,
So it'll be good.
their offense will look pretty decent with him back there, with Bateman and him, Andrews, Dobbins.
Yeah, surefire
And
number one.
yeah, and
So
I read today too that Lamar was recruiting him, so that's a big plus
yeah,
for the Ravens. So Riley, did you like
Possibly a
it?
deal, possibly a deal close for Lamar then. I'm
Yeah,
assuming that's what
hopefully.
that means.
I think you got to be. Right? I think that's what it had to be because you don't just pay this guy, just still leave Lamar hanging, right? So pretty sure it was probably written in there. Said, hey, go get him, and then we'll get back to discussing a long term deal. So, but yeah, I know you've been saying it since day one. You hope he stays. So,
Yeah, I mean, if he leaves, I don't know. We're gonna fall apart. So we don't need that.
you guys do you even have a quarterback on the roster right now? I don't even know if you do.
Got
Huntley's a free
Huntley,
agent right now,
so
isn't he?
he's cool. Is he? I don't
He's
know. He's
cool.
got coming off a
Yeah.
Pro Bowl, so who knows about that?
But
Weird.
all right, well, let's just jump into this rookie wide receiver class here. We got about I don't know, like 10 to 12 guys we're going to touch on real quick here. So, Riley, start us off with Quentin Johnson. TCU Horned Frogs prospects.
Yeah, Quinn Johnson, huge right off the bat. Big guy, 6'4", 215. That's what I got off player profile. Some people are saying he's 6'5", 6'6". So, but he's just a freak athlete, big receiver. He can kind of do it all on the field. I think he's kind of the clear cut number one of this class. He can separate. His route running sharp. He can go short. He can go deep. Hard to tackle, and he can make catches in traffic. My kind of only thing with him, just not a too advanced route tree, but a lot of these guys coming out of college, they don't have an advanced route tree either. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about him. Freak athlete, big receiver. I think he's going to make waves in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not going to really argue with any of that. The one thing that did stand out when I was just kind of digging in a little bit deeper was his contested catch rate wasn't all the greatest in 2022. Just under 35% of his targets he was catching. So yeah, I think going into the NFL, I think you got to be with the big body that he is. He's going to have to improve on that a little bit. And yeah, like you mentioned, his route tree wasn't the biggest, so hopefully he can get something going in the NFL. Garrett?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
no, I
that's a
think you
lot due
guys are.
to.
Oh,
Sorry, I think that's a lot due to kind of Duggan's recklessness.
Yeah,
His reckless throws a little bit, but
true.
yeah, go ahead, Garrett.
no, I think you guys have kind of said a lot of it. Like big body, he's quick. I just remember him torching on those slants in the college football playoff. I had a couple things. He does struggle to catch balls through contact, and when he's running, he kind of struggles stacking the corners a bit. I think, but I again like it's a lot to do with like the system they run and again the reckless of Duggan. So I think come NFL time he'll be they'll sure him up for sure. He's definitely a real big body and definitely be a surefire first round pick.
Yeah, so Riley, you said he's pretty much a clear cut one. I would have to agree with that, but it's close for me between him and Jackson Smith and Jigba, who we'll talk about next. But Garrett, where do you have him like kind of ranked?
He's my two. He's my two. I got Addison at one, and I'm sure we'll get to him,
Ooh,
but he's my two for sure.
nice. Okay, well, yeah. So definitely first round pick in my opinion. It's been talked about since pretty much since the end of the college playoff that it was mostly going to be him as the one. Well, I mean that was the talk about it. So, um, do you have a player comp for a guy like Johnson? Johnston?
I saw
Yo,
things
Garrett.
kind of like Alshon Jeffrey kind of thing, just similar size, physicality. That's kind of what I was thinking. Kind of prime time Alshon Jeffrey.
I was looking at a guy kind of like Des Bryant, kind of with the whole, the style of play that he does have. So
I see a little bit of Mike Williams. Mike
it's
Williams,
Okay.
big
good.
body receiver.
Yeah, it's good. We all got different ones for a guy like him. So, but we're all on the same page with him. Next here, we'll talk about Jackson Smith and Jigba. That was, like I said, that was my pretty close for me. Seems to be like almost from watching tape, natural separator. He consistently wins in all three phases of his routes. He can win on release. Um, I personally think he's got some, if not the best hands and ball skills amongst any receiver in this year's draft class. Unfortunately for him, disappointing 2022 season, especially coming off that 2021 season where he put up almost 1,600 yards receiving. Literally the only thing I could say is about his overall athleticism. Like, to me, he's going to be basically running out of the slot, I think, at that next level. But I think even with the fact that, as even if he's in the slot focused role, he's going to still. We've seen guys excel. I mean, in the NFL with guys like Christian Kirk, Chris Godwin, and stuff like that. That's kind of the guys kind of that I'm comping him to in the NFL right now. So
Yeah, Smith and Jigba, I got him. I'm a little bit lower on him than most people are. I have him as my number 4 receiver in the draft. Nothing kind of too big. My only worry is, first of all, just the 1 year of production he had.
mm-hmm.
Not even his most recent season, coming off a big injury.
Yeah,
that kind of plays a factor when you're comparing him to the rest of the class. And just there wasn't a lot of wow factor I saw with him. Again, you mentioned the athleticism. He doesn't have like spectacular athleticism, but kind of that's my only thing. No wow factor with him. But one thing I will say for him, he did manage to get more targets, more catches, more receptions than in an offense with Olave and Garrett Wilson. So I think that's saying something. But just playing out of the slot too, I think he'll be strictly that role in the NFL too, which might limit him a little bit.
yep.
Yeah.
Garrett.
Yeah, no, you guys have kind of said it all. Like, yeah, like for me, it kind of worries me because it feels like all his hype kind of comes from that Rose Bowl. He had 15 catches, 347, 3 touchdowns, and then all of a sudden he was just this Heisman favorite coming out of nowhere. He does like I said, it's like a one game kind of spectacular for him. Obviously, the hamstring injury hampered him, but for me, he does have some of the best body control I've ever seen. Like, he had that catch against Nebraska, was like one of the greatest catches I've ever seen when he's falling out of bounds and able to get that toe down. Like, he's number 3 on my board. Like, I do like him. He does kind of come out of the slot. I think he'll stay in the slot, like everyone's kind of saying. And his breaks are a bit top heavy, but there's so much upside, so much potential. Like, he's definitely going to be a first round pick. Someone's going to take him because there's way too much upside.
Yeah, I think with this class in general, there's a lot of, first off, this wide receiver class isn't as kind of stacked as the previous years, but you're going to see a lot of these guys very, very much slot players in college that are going to be mostly slot guys in the NFL as well. So, but yeah, that's just one thing to keep an eye on with Njigba. He just strictly played out of the slot. I don't think he can play that X or that wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that, and Riley, you hit it right on the head there with that about being slot receivers. A lot of these guys, when I was watching it, a lot of them run mostly out of the slot. There's very few guys that you can line up all over the field. So, and you mentioned once before too that it's a small class. Like, it's these guys are small. There's not a whole lot of big bodied guys, but I mean they're quick. That's the biggest thing, the speed. So. All right, Garrett, talk to me about the 5'11", 173-pound Jordan Addison out of USC.
Yeah, I've loved Jordan Addison. I loved him when he was at Pitt. Obviously, he won the Biletnikoff 2 years ago. Transferred to USC. His production dropped, but he did. I think part of that comes with the fact that he's got so many good players over at USC as opposed to at Pitt. It was just kind of him. I love his footwork, like his running when he is running his routes. And he's athletic enough to be out wide if you need him to. And he's got like his routes for me are just I love him. I love watching him. I kind of geek out watching him. For me though, he does struggle with like aggressive corners a bit. So he's got to learn to kind of fight through that contact. And Like it's tough because he needs to work on his deep ball tracking a bit. I kind of seen him and Caleb Williams couldn't quite get on the same page this year a bit, time to time. But I just love his footwork, and for me, he's my number one.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I believe he's my number 3 on my list. Yes, he is. Um, to me, my concerns are, yeah, like he's skinny, he's undersized, and like you mentioned, he struggles against more physical corners. I did have that in my notes. However, I think he's a natural route runner, just like you said. His body control, I mean, allows him to create separation with, especially win those contested catches. Another thing I did notice, he just kind of had natural similarities to another guy that was very good in his prime, and a guy like Deontay Johnson.
Yeah. You mentioned Deontay Johnson. I think Addison's probably the best route runner in this class. And we're talking about Jigba not having the wow factor. Addison definitely has that wow factor to his game. He's a deep threat, can play inside and outside, although I think with his size, he'll probably be pushed again to the slots at the NFL level. Super explosive, quick cuts. I have him kind of 2 and 3 tied with another guy we're going to talk about pretty soon here. But yeah, I think he's going to be successful at the NFL level. He'll definitely be a first-round pick.
All right, another guy that I like, another short guy, 5'9", 182, Zay Flowers out of Boston College. He's an exciting prospect, but the thing with him is, from what I watched on tape, I was like, you talked about wow factor. I was wowed by him on quite a few videos highlights that I saw. Hands are good. He's got natural hands. Impressive ability. He makes defenders miss, which I saw a lot of that. But the smaller size, that's the biggest thing. I think he's going to be similar situation with Addison. I think he struggles with those physical corners. As long as he can kind of, get it figured out at that NFL level, maybe bulk up a little bit, I think he will be okay. But I still do like him overall.
Yeah, Zay Flowers, super shifty, super explosive, super fast. This guy's super dangerous in open field too. Again, looking at these wide receivers, what always concerns me, it's not so much the weight factor, because that can be worked upon. We've seen guys get drafted skinny and they've kind of bulked up, put on some weight. Hasn't been too much of an issue in the NFL, but that 5'9" kind of worries me a little bit, especially a listed 5'9". Again, it's probably a couple inches shorter when we're talking about the NFL. And another thing with Zay Flowers, I think he's a little bit too raw to compare with the other top guys in this class for me. Just lots of bad drops he had, especially this last season. And he played outside in college, but again, I don't think he'll be anywhere near an outside receiver at the NFL level.
Yeah, another just quick little knock on him too. To me, it was his top end speed as kind of a question mark for me as well. He did run a 4.42 40 at the combine, but just his top end speed, he wasn't. I don't know. There's some receivers can get up to that next level quite a lot faster than what I see of Zay Flowers. Garret?
Yeah, no, I think you guys are kind of like again saying it all. He's super slippery. He kind of reminds me of like a Rondale Moore, just size wise and just like the shiftiness in the open field. I do think him being at Boston College and like their team just tapering off this past year kind of hinders him a bit. He did play 4 years, so he does have like he's a little older. He's got a little more experience. I watching him, his IQ in zone coverage was kind of questionable. Like it was tough. Like he struggled reading zone coverages, finding out where to sit. He was more of like a man beater kind of thing because with all his speed. So like just the zone coverage tends to confuse him. So he needs to really study up and work on his IQ. And then like Riley said, the drops. It just like he tapered off with the rest of Boston College this year. So I like him though. Like I said, Rondale Moore, short, little, shifty, explosive guy. So
yeah. Where do you guys have him ranked?
he's my 4.
I think he's my 4 as well.
Okay,
I
I
like
have him
his
at 5.
Yeah, he's got the punt return experience too, and you don't need to be tall to be on punt return. You don't need to be.
Yeah.
You can be short and explosive. So I think that's gonna be beneficial for him too in the NFL, at least getting some playing time.
Yeah.
All right, another guy that I thought was going to be much quicker, but I think he got banged up in the combine was Jalen Hyatt, Still ran a 4.40. Tennessee product, 6'1", 176. To me, the thing that stands out with him is his speed. I thought he would run a little bit quicker before but like I mentioned, I mean, his speed on tape is one of a kind, in my opinion. And he consistently wins basically mainly off his speed. He possesses natural route running skills, foot speed, creates separation in and out of the cut. However, he does struggle on his releases. That's one thing I did notice. And I mean, with Tennessee using him primarily once again, just pretty much out of the slot. I noticed he did get kind of manhandled by those physical defenders as well. So another guy who is, I mean, another strictly slot receiver in my opinion.
Yeah, I love Jalen Hyatt. He's my guy. I had tied kind of with Addison at that 2 slot for me. A little bit raw, people will say, but we saw him dominate the best cornerbacks in college. This last year, we saw that against Alabama, 5 touchdowns. Probably the fastest receiver in this class. Good route runner, can beat anyone over the top. He's just a deep threat. I think if he can kind of capitalize on his chances, he is a little bit raw, but I think if he can execute a little bit at the NFL level, I think he's going to be a top guy in this class.
Yeah, no, he's for me, like I like him too. For me, it's not like same with the Njigba. It's the one game, like that 6 catch, 207, 5 touchdowns against Alabama. Everybody remembers that. Everybody thinks about that, and that kind of thrust him to the spotlight this year. He's a very good blocker. You don't talk too much about it. He gets in there. He likes to block. His blocking is in suspect, which is good. Um, I I think his how he was used at Tennessee will be a bit of a not a hindrance, but he'll kind of struggle at the start. Just like he needs a lot, like his route tree was he's run goes, the posts and stuff. Like he needs a little more of a full route tree, and then just a little more creativity in the shorter routes. Like he didn't have to necessarily be creative just because he was so much faster than everybody. But come NFL time, he's gonna have to be a little more creative, just kind of getting off the line, breaking the separation because he can't rely on that speed too as much in the NFL. But I do like him. Anybody who could torch Bama like that definitely deserves respect.
Exactly. Any player comps for him? Me personally, I like him kind of like in a Will Fuller kind of, with that speed and everything like that. So
I like
I
that.
think that's a good
Like
comp, yeah. I didn't have a comp yet, but I like that. Will Fuller.
no,
all right, another guy we'll talk about, Josh Downs, UNC, explosive in my notes, just explosive. Plays above his size. His contested catch rates was over 72%. Natural route runner. He's already, in my opinion, he's already at that elite level. So moving into the NFL, I don't think we're going to see much of a difference. I mean, he was great in college. Over 1,000 yards the last 2 seasons. Ran a 4.48 40. Excellent body control. And yeah, just I think he's once again going to be a slot only guy. However, I just think his skill and route running ability, I think he could succeed in the outside if he does is given that shot.
yeah. I liked. Yeah, he's got really good short quickness, and he's got the long range speed. He can outrun defenders. His cuts are so sharp and sudden, like you never know where he's gonna go. And another thing, he is 5'9", but his catching through contact was phenomenal. Like you couldn't. He's holding on to everything, even no matter how hard he's getting hit. And he's got that punt returning ability, like I kind of always talk about. I like looking for that just because it helps him get on the field, kind of like when Randall Cobb was coming out back in the day. For me, he just needs to kind of work on the run blocking.
Yeah,
We like
I was going
everyone
to
likes to
mention
get
that.
yeah, everyone gets caught up in all the catching and stuff, but the run blocking is super important. So I think that'll come with time. I don't think they really needed him to in college, so I think he'll be able to at some point. But I like him a lot.
Yeah, Josh Down. I actually have him. I'm a lot lower on this guy than you guys are, and a lot of people are. I just think multiple years of production. You love to see that he has the quick feet, the good speed, but a lot of these other slot guys do, right? One thing I will say with him that I did like advanced route tree. He's like the one guy out of this whole class that does have that advanced route tree in his arsenal. But the things I really didn't like about him is that with the few kind of press coverage he did get out of the slot, he struggled a lot with that physically. And I think it's a surefire thing. He will be limited kind of physically in the NFL. That's why I kind of am not as high on him as the kind of other slot guys in this class, just because he's been manhandled a few games by physical corners.
All right. Go to an LSU product, Keyshawn Boot. Is it Boot or Boat?
Butte, I'm not too sure.
Butte, whatever. One of those. 5'11", 195, bigger guy. Production not all that impressive. However, when you look at his, well, I'll let you guys talk about it. Why don't you start us off here, Garrett?
Yeah, so the thing with him is he was trending up first year, second year, especially with Jefferson leaving and Chase opting out. They gave him that number 7 at LSU. For those of you who don't know, that goes to the best player. And he did not produce whatsoever this year. With that being said, he's quick and he's got a great run after catch ability, which is good. Like he makes people miss. He does struggle to stack the corners. And he doesn't extend his arms catching. Like he kind of keeps his arms a little closer in. He doesn't reach out for it, attacking the ball. And I'd be upset if I didn't mention. I think he's got some attitude problems. After they lost to Florida State the first game of the year, he deleted everything on social media because he wasn't getting the ball. So I do not huge on him just because attitude wise, because the NFL is not going to get any easier. But he does have all the abilities and like all the speed and everything that you do need.
Yeah, I think another thing with Butte I did like is that he's a high IQ player. He can find those soft spots in his own defense, and he's very balanced. He can kind of play the short game, play the intermediate game, play the deep ball. He can kind of do everything on the field. And unlike a lot of these other guys in the class, he can play that X receiver. He has a skill set to do it, although he didn't do it much at LSU. I think he kind of has the size and the skill set to do it if they need him to play that. But yeah, kind of like what you mentioned, Garrett, just the attitude problems kind of stuck out to me. And the injury history, right? He was struggling with a lot of like minor tweaks, injuries. So yeah, I think that's
the ankles, I think.
The ankles, yeah. So I think that's kind of cause for concern there with Butte. But I'm kind of neutral on him. Like I don't have him in my top 8 or anything like that, but kind of just outside that spot.
Yeah, that was my biggest thing was character issues as well. I mean, that stuff will get sorted out. I mean, if they're still talking that he's, in that, top 10 range of the wide receivers, obviously maybe that stuff has come out in, these interviews and stuff like that. So hopefully that's fixable because on tape, I like the kid. I mean, I comped him to a guy like Chris Godwin. Just there's a few, I mean, versatility is in any scheme, which is nice. You don't get that out of a lot of the wide receivers in this class, and just he's just explosive in routes. So hopefully they get all that, the character issues get sorted, and I do think he does succeed. That's why I do have him in, like I said, I think he's my 6th ranked. What is it? My 7th ranked. So pretty low. I mean, that could change too. All depends. I mean, you guys got some guys we're going to talk about here that I have, finally did a little bit of research on that I really like. So that could change. So Marvin Mims is the next guy on the list here.
Yeah, I love this guy coming out of Oklahoma. I think he kind of does it all. Super competitive, this guy. You'll notice when he has the ball in his hands, he's not afraid to kind of fight for that extra yardage. It's one thing I really do like, especially out of the wide receiver position, because that doesn't happen too often with these guys. Extremely fast, played all over the field, played inside, played outside. Really good run blocker too. Quick release. Kind of the only kind of weaknesses I've seen with him, again, kind of not a huge route tree coming out of college. And you could put on a little bit of weight too, although he does have the height, kind of 5'11". So
yeah, that's my biggest concern was just basically I said I'm kind of curious of how his size is going to translate to the next level. Hands are good, not natural as some of these guys. He does rely on his arms and body to secure the ball a lot of the time. And I personally think he could be like an under the radar sleeper in this draft class, personally, because I mean he's got the speed, great at run after the catch ability. So, Garrett.
Yeah, no, like you said, great run after the catch. He's quick. I think I have him like a 4.38 40. He's got the punt returning ability. You'll hear me say that a lot. I love his ability to track the deep ball. Like he can make some very, very impressive catches. Deep ball, you see him adjust his body, everything like that. His routes underneath need a bit of work. But like in college, they like him going deep, kind of everything like that. And then his catch radius is a little limited. You kind of have to put the ball a little more on the spot with him. He does go up and get it. But I think I read somewhere he lost more 50-50 balls than he won. That just comes with time. Maybe a bit of the quarterback's fault, but I do really like this guy. He's quick. Um, yeah, I'm very excited to see where he goes. Like you said, Clayton, he's like a sleeper kind of pick. You like excited to see where he goes if he's used properly.
Yeah.
Okay, another guy that I didn't have on my list, and neither did Riley. So Garrett, I'll let you keep talking here. Nathaniel Dell, tell me about why you like this
Ye-
kid.
Yeah, so he's short. I mean, he's 5'8", 165. He played, I think, all 4 years at Houston. He had 109 catches last year in 13 games. He's very tricky. He's very slippery. Like he wins the leverage battle versus coverage all the time. He they're outside shade. He's stacking them up, trying to get back outside, beating him to it. Very explosive. He had a 4.49 40, so he didn't test as well in the 40. He's got the punt returning abilities. But size, like he's 5'8", like so it's super tough. But I do see a lot of upside, and I do see him just being like that slippery little short guy. Kind of, you just like they're like, what's going on? Kind of like Tyreek Hill esque. Obviously, he's much shorter, and I'm not saying he's going to be the next Tyreek Hill, but I kind of get those vibes from him.
Yeah, when I caught tape, that's exactly what I was thinking. Same kind of thing. I think with this, the size is going to be based on around his health standpoint, right? Like, I mean, how healthy is he going to be? Is he going to be able to take those big hits and and in that 18 or 17 game season and try to continue to play? But you mentioned it. I mean, he's electric. Anything I watched on him, he's electric. Explosive versatility all over the field. But yeah, my biggest thing is he's just a wee little man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathaniel Dell. One thing I did really like about him, a lot of these kind of explosive, quick guys, you'll notice they can kind of get away with being less technical, not focusing on the route running as much. He's very crispy with his routes, his route running ability. And another thing I really like is he actually extends his hands out to catch the ball. Wide receiver technique, kind of 101 right there. And he kind of does that. You'll never see him really body catch too often in the games. And I think that's going to translate really well to the NFL. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Wan'Dale Robinson coming out. Everyone's so concerned with the size, but he's super explosive. Just a playmaker.
Yeah, I agree with that. A guy I was confident too. He had a lot of similarities. Was a guy like Tutu Atwell, and then
Hopefully, he doesn't turn out as a
yeah,
pro like Tutu Atwell.
yeah. Hopefully
No,
not.
that'd
There's
be
a lot of
bad.
guys, a lot of these player comps. Hopefully they just make their own mark. So, Riley, you had a guy as well on your list, Rasheed Rice, SMU product, 6'1", 204, one of the bigger guys. I like this kid as well. Like, do you talk to me about him?
Yeah, I really like this guy. He's just he's not going to make plays in the open field too much, but he played all over. He's a super physical receiver. Goes up, gets the ball. Crazy contested. If you watch his film, just making contested catches all over the place. Jumps up, goes for the ball. Great at tracking the ball. One thing, kind of downfalls I did have with him, he is on the older side. With his draft age, he's going to be 23, but he has consistently kind of produced since his freshman year. And he can just kind of struggle to separate a little bit downfield, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think he's just going to be that physical kind of throw fades in the end zone type guy for any NFL team.
Yeah, anything that I read about him was everybody kept mentioning about his route tree. He didn't run very many routes in college, but I just think that's because SMU had just a very simple spread offense that just didn't really ask him to do much else. Right? Here's a handful of routes to run and go run them. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Garrett.
yeah. I think you guys are kind of saying it all, like you said, Clayton. Just like throw him the ball, throw him the big, let him just dunk on people, let him use his size, his physicality. He does need to kind of expand the route tree, but there is potential for those big bodies in the red zone for sure. So I'm sure someone will pick him up, someone will use him properly, and who knows, maybe he'll end up being the sleeper of the draft.
Yeah, I think his upside is just as high as anyone in this draft. So, uh, okay, now on to our sleepers now. Riley, I'll let you kick us off with you like Xavier Hutchinson.
Yeah, Xavier, I really like this guy. I kind of wanted to put him in my top eight. That might change kind of closer to the draft time, but 6'2", 203, although he looks, again, much taller on tape. We were just talking about him. But good size, quick release, sharp cuts, played everywhere, all over the field. Great ball tracking, and you'll notice you mentioned ball control with Njigba. I think Hutchinson's up there too with Njigba with his body control. I think he's a very balanced receiver, kind of does it all. And another thing too, he's produced since his freshman year. You don't see a lot of guys break kind of 500 yards in their freshman year. He's been their number one guy at Iowa State since he was a freshman, so I think that's saying a lot too. Kind of weaknesses I did see in his game, not as good in open space once he does have the ball in his hands as kind of some of the other guys. Some drops, and he has decent speed, but not that kind of elite quickness like some of these other guys.
Yeah, when I did kind of watch tape on him, the one thing that did stand out, he plays slow on film. I saw, and his speed and his age is like I said, he struggles to separate. I found, however, when it comes to the pluses on this guy, I mean his size is big, his route running is smooth, and his hands. He's probably got some of the best hands in this class. That could tell by his like his catch rate.
Yeah. No, it's like I go back to like when he was playing with like Brock Purdy and Brees Hall those 2 years. You watch on an Iowa State game and he was just always open. Whenever they need him, he was just and he like you said, he looks like kind of slow in a sense. Like he looks like he's kind of moving in slow motion to me, but he's just
Yeah,
always creating so much separation. Like it's crazy. I like him. Like I like the sleeper pick for sure. Like yeah, you guys have kind of said it all with the cons, but like for me, it just like every time I'd watch him, just from a fan standpoint, he's just always getting open. It's crazy.
Yeah, and at Iowa State too, they were always kind of a run first offense, but when he's still putting up numbers consistent, like 1,100 yards last season, 987 the year before, he's still putting up those numbers in a run first offense. So I think that is definitely in his favor there.
For sure.
all right, well, my sleeper is I'm going to go to BYU Puka Nakua. I think that's how you say his name. 6'2", just over 200 pounds. This guy to me ticks off most boxes of anyone in this draft class. He's competitive, tough, and that instantly comes to me when you watch him on tape. Natural outside receiver, which we don't have a lot of those in this draft class, and he's an above average contested catch receiver. My only biggest thing with him is his route running capacity. He struggles to separate. In games, but I personally do like him. I think he's going to be a sneaky, pick in, probably the third or the fourth round here.
Yeah, I actually do like I like both of your sleepers. Kind of looking at these guys on tape. Puka Nakua. Kind of one thing you didn't mention, kind of a con against him, is just he can struggle a little bit against more physical corners, especially off the line. But he has that separation downfield. I think he's going to be used um, as a kind of deep threat guy in the NFL. But he's very versatile as well. Like he was used as a running back a ton at BYU. Lots of sweeps. I think again, just versatility wise, I think he's going to be a good kind of tool later draft pick in the NFL.
Yeah. No. I like yeah, like his ability. Like Clayton, you're saying he makes those contested catches. His ability to stack corners, like you'll hear me say, is just I love watching it. He walls them off. He's able to put himself in a position to make the catch. I do think his when he runs his routes, he's a little upright. He could probably get a little lower center of gravity. And like Riley was saying, like he struggles with contact, struggles with the press. But these big receivers are not as many in this year's draft as past. So I think we're going to see a lot of them go and hopefully be used properly. But I do love his ability to just stack those corners, get that separation, and just make those big catches.
All right, well then that leaves one sleeper left, and not shocking that you picked a Michigan guy,
Yeah.
Ronnie
Well,
Bell, 6 foot, 190.
yeah, I love Ronnie Bell. He's coming off the ACL, so everyone was kind of wondering what was kind of going to happen. I mean, 62 catches, 889 receiving yards, four touchdowns in a Michigan offense that loves to run the ball. And he did benefit with JJ McCarthy playing, but he's got real good ball skills, strong hands. Like you're not going to get that ball out of his hands. You're not going to win a jump ball with him if you guys both get your hands on him. And he loves to run block. I think that's like the biggest benefit playing in a Michigan offense is just the fact that you have to run block so much. I think it's going to be such a valuable tool for him. He does have a bit of a slower route speed, and he does kind of struggle to get some separation man coverage. Like a lot of his issues are coming off the speed, and I think he will get quicker, especially because he's only 1 year off an ACL injury, so it takes a lot to get all that back. But I do really love Ronnie Bell, and he's a great locker room guy. So, and I always got to stand by my Michigan boys.
I really like Ronnie Bell as well. One thing, again, Garret mentioned it, locker room guy, fan favorite. Like Michigan was going nuts when he came back from his ACL injury, his first game back, and just he's a competitor. Like this guy fights for every yard he can get, kind of on the field, which you don't see too much again from these wide receivers. Super shifty, quick release, quick feet, big catch radius for. He's not super big either. 6 foot. I got 6 foot 191, but his catch radius is actually pretty big on the field. My weaknesses with him, kind of his injury history with that ACL, that is a little bit concerning. Older 5-year player coming out of college. Again, kind of your stats can be a little bit inflated in your later years when you're playing younger guys like that as an older draft age. And my kind of one thing with him, he seems almost too comfortable in traffic, making catches in traffic where he doesn't separate as much as you like to see. So yeah, that's one thing I kind of did. I don't think it's much like I don't think it's a quickness issue with him. I think he's like almost like, oh, I can kind of catch the ball in traffic anyway, so I don't need as much separation. So yeah, that's kind of my thing with Ronnie Bell.
Yeah, I think you guys pretty much nailed it. I don't think I really have much more to say on him. Can't talk about. You guys mentioned everything, so I would just be repeating what you guys say. So, all right. Anybody else you guys want to talk about, or is that pretty much finish the list of guys we want to talk about?
I got nothing.
I got one guy actually. I was gonna put him as my sleeper, Jaden Reed out of Michigan State. You're not gonna be a fan of that pick, Garret.
No.
Jaden Reed, 5'11", 191. He has a good kind of story, or growing, not a good story, but like kind of bad upbringing. He lost his dad at like an early age, but he's had a pretty successful college career. He's produced again since his freshman year. That's not like a simple feat for a lot of these college guys. It usually takes them sophomore, junior year to start competing for just playing time in general. But 797 yards in his freshman year. Very quick, played slot, played outside, kind of both, can do it all. Route running, and this guy's just a playmaker. Kind of his weaknesses are just his body catches in his small frame, but I think he could sneak up kind of day 2 or round 2 pick in the NFL, and I think he can make some splashes at the NFL level. I don't know if you guys watched any tape on him.
No, I've seen some. I've seen some, like watching all that Big Ten football. He is definitely a nuisance. That's how I'll describe him. And his numbers are even more impressive with the fact that Michigan State hasn't really had a good quarterback in forever. I think since Connor Cook left, like it's like Peyton Lewicki or whatever. I don't even want to know his name, but he does put up numbers. He does make plays. Even though he's a Spartan, I do agree with you. Kind of like that second round kind of pick. And anybody who kind of fought through what he did just mentally is going to have that mental toughness to kind of cut it in the NFL. So everything you're saying is true, unfortunately.
Nice. All right, well, that's going to take care of our wide receivers. Maybe we'll touch on some, tight ends. Not really keen on this tight end class. There's a few guys, but maybe we'll talk about that off air. See if maybe we want to do something. And if not, I think this draft class is going to be amazing. I'm excited already. Starting to look at all my dynasty teams, and hopefully, guys will fall to me. But who knows? Don't forget, guys, if you haven't already done so, get some 247 Clash. Get there, head over there. Deposit some money. Use promo code NOR. Is it? Yeah, it's North, right? Yeah, North. Yeah, that's correct. Sorry, my
North,
bad.
yeah.
North. And yeah, they're going to be starting to do. They're actually going to be doing some draft stuff. I just talked to the guy earlier this week. They're going to start. They're going to do some pools tickets on the draft. So jump in to do that. If you do have money in there, they're putting out a couple free hockey. They just did one for the Masters, free pools as well. So just a great brand to get involved with. And outside of that, appreciate everybody listening. And once again, I appreciate you guys for jumping on here and joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. Peace.
All right, peace.